It's a strange thing, feeling like you know a public figure. And let's be honest, Jimmy Carr is someone we all think we have pinned down. He's the man in the sharpest suit, with the perfectly coiffed hair, and a laugh that sounds less like human joy and more like a seal trying to start a stubborn lawnmower. He is, by his own admission, a tax-avoiding, one-line joke-telling robot. He's the man who walks onto a stage, takes a swig of water, and proceeds to machine gun fire the most offensive, brilliantly crafted, and morally bankrupt jokes you've ever heard. We go to his shows to be shocked. We watch his panels to see him deliver a punchline that lands with the surgical precision of a scalpel, right on the nerve. What we never expect, what we are never prepared for, is to see the armor crack. Today, the armor didn't just crack, it shattered. In a move that has sent absolute shockwaves through the entertainment world, Jimmy Carr, the bulletproof comedian, shared news so personal and so profoundly heartbreaking that it has forced a collective pause. In a long-form interview, not for a special, but for a quiet mental health podcast, Carr revealed a deeply buried family tragedy, a loss that he says forged the man and the monster that you see on stage. This isn't a joke, this isn't a setup, this is a story of profound, hidden grief, and it changes absolutely everything. The man behind the machine gun laugh. For over 2 decades, Jimmy Carr has curated a persona of absolute, unflappable detachment. This is the man who weathered a national tax avoidance scandal by walking on stage and opening his show with, "I've had a terrible day. I just found out the taxman has got a new show, and I'm the first guest." He leans into the controversy. When critics call him heartless, he sharpens the insult and uses it as a new tour title. His entire brand is built on the premise that nothing can touch him. He is the dealer of dark arts, the court jester who will say the unsayable, laugh, and move on to the next taboo. That's why today's news feels like such a gut punch. Speaking to the podcast host, Carr's voice was almost unrecognizable. The staccato, high-pitched laugh was gone. In its place was a quiet, measured, and trembling tone as he recounted a story he has never, in his entire public life, alluded to. He spoke about the loss of his older brother, a sibling who passed away from a sudden illness when Jimmy was just a teenager. This was not just a passing mention. Carr spent nearly an hour detailing the silence that fell over his family, the feeling of ceasing to be a child in a single afternoon, and the profound, suffocating grief that he had nowhere to put. "We were a family," Carr said, his voice thick with an emotion we've never heard from him. "And then, in a blink, we were just people in a house." The laughter stopped. Everything stopped. This, he explained, is where the other Jimmy Carr was born. The laugh is the sound of the armor. The most shocking part of the revelation wasn't just the tragedy itself, but the direct line he drew from that pain to his persona. "The laugh, that laugh," he said, referring to his iconic ha 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 ha, "that isn't joy. Not really, it's a noise. It's the sound of the armor plating slamming shut. It's the sound I created as a boy in a room where you weren't allowed to be sad. It was the only big noise that wasn't crying. It's a chilling, devastating image. The laugh we've all mimicked, the one that signals the arrival of a truly dark joke, is a defense mechanism, a shield." Carr explained that comedy wasn't a choice for him, it was a psychological necessity. "I learned to laugh at the darkest things because the darkest thing had already happened," he confessed. "If you can make a joke about the unspeakable, you control it. It doesn't control you. The problem is, I became very, very good at it. I built a fortress of punchlines, and I've been living inside it for 25 years. This new context reframes his entire career. We, the audience, were always in on the joke. What we didn't realize is that the joke was on us. We were watching a man perform a high-wire act of emotional suppression, and we paid for tickets to see it, mistaking it for fearless comedy. When he tells a joke that makes 2,000 people gasp, he's not just seeking the laugh. He's proving to himself that he is the one in the room who won't gasp. He's the one who won't flinch. Because, as he put it, flinching was the beginning of the pain. Why now? The crack in the wall. For a man who has guarded his private life with such ferocity, the question is, why share this now? The answer, it seems, is as relatable as his persona is alien: fatherhood. Carr, who became a father in recent years, admitted that he looked at his young son and felt an abject terror that he wouldn't know how to be a father, only a comedian. "You realize," he said, "that This thing you've built, this comedian, this character, it's useless as a father. It can't comfort a child. It can't be vulnerable. It can't be real. And I looked at my son and I thought, I don't want him to know the comedian. I want him to know his dad. And to do that, I have to finally tear the fortress down. He is, he says, finally trying to process the grief he locked away as a teenager. He is in therapy. He is, for the first time, allowing himself to be human in his own life. The reaction online has been immediate and overwhelming. Social media, usually a cesspool of snark, a place Carr usually thrives, has been flooded with an uncharacteristic wave of empathy. I spent years thinking Jimmy Carr was a sociopath, one viral tweet read. Today I found out he's just one of us, only with a better suit and a much sadder story. I'm floored. Another user wrote, I've always been offended by him. Now, I just want to give him a hug. This is truly heartbreaking. Of course, there is cynicism. Some will call it a PR move, a way to rebrand his toxic comedy for a new, more sensitive era. But to hear the interview, to hear the raw, unpolished, and painful hesitation in his voice, is to know this is not a performance. It's a confession. This changes nothing about the jokes. The jokes are still dark, still offensive, and many will still rightfully find them a step too far. But it changes the man. It changes the intent. We are no longer watching a robot execute a program of shock. We are watching a deeply wounded man, one who has spent a lifetime mastering his own pain by turning the concept of pain itself into a punchline. Jimmy Carr didn't just share heartbreaking news today, he shared his heart. And in doing so, he may have just performed his most human and most shocking act of all. We want to hear from you. Does this revelation change how you view Jimmy Carr's comedy? Share your thoughts and reactions in the comments below.